Sure can.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Well, we're going to get started. Please stop me if you have any questions. We'll have some reserved time for Q&A at the very end. But if something pops up, and you don't want to forget it, feel free to stop me. We'll answer questions as we go as well. So, you all probably are familiar with some of these spaces, but I always want to take the time to kind of reintroduce the team. We've had some new faces, and we've also had a few teammates leave recently. So, Sydney Searle is our Chief Advocacy Officer. You've got Michelle leading state affairs in Alabama. JT Blau comes to us from Virginia, and he's our general counsel and heads a lot of the compliance regulatory work that we do. Christopher is over in Florida and is our state governmental affairs lead there. We've got Matt Willie, who is also kind of in that regulatory advocacy space. Ibby Dixon, who may join us as we go on, and she is now leading some federal work, and then myself. But I also want to take the time to welcome Nadine Slocum, who is going to come and join us in Virginia as our Virginia lobbyist. So you'll see her face here coming up in the next few weeks, and she'll be joining us at Hike the Hill in DC. But I know she's on the line. And Nadine, if you're able to, I'd love for you to just say a few words and introduce yourself.
I would be delighted. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry that I'm calling in today. I'm on the road, but just wanted to say so excited to be joining the league. I come from a background of state and federal advocacy, and I am joining officially on September 2nd, but I'm really excited to take this opportunity to jump on this PAC call and learn more about the internal workings of the league. And it's just so important to participate in our political process and advocate specifically for the needs of credit unions, and especially in Virginia. So I'm excited to take up that mantle. I know CJ did such a fantastic job, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nadine. All right, well, we're going to jump right into this and talk about several ways that you can contribute to advocacy through PAC and fund giving. So, first and foremost, I just want to share that advocacy encompasses so many different elements. You may think of that direct lobbying where we've got a team of dedicated professionals, both at the state and the federal levels, who are meeting with lawmakers and discussing issues and credit union positions each and every day, as well as, grassroots lobbying, where, you'll hear about opportunities to go up to DC or go to the state capitol and visit with lawmakers there as well, or perhaps in district. But PAC giving is also an incredibly important element of advocacy, and it's really where we can start to build some of those relationships with candidates, either first-time candidates or incumbent candidates, who are looking to run for office. And that's really a great place to start that relationship and, have that discussion. We vet them and we say, hey, these are our positions, these are our issues that are important to us. Are you going to be supportive of the credit union industry? And do we think that that's something that will happen in the future? And so we have an opportunity to support them ahead of kind of that ask, and us saying, hey, we've built this relationship with you, we've supported you, and we're asking for your support on this issue. So we'll talk a little bit more as we go about that. But again, PAC giving, such an important element of advocacy, and it's actually one of the first stages of advocacy, something that everyone can participate in. So, we have several ways to do that here at the league. And there are two kind of PAC categories that we'll talk about. So you hear a lot about the state QPACs, and then you hear about the Fed PAC. We'll dive into each of those a little bit more as we go, but want to kind of get everyone comfortable with when we say state QPACs, it's one category, but there are actually four different QPAC accounts. So there's one for every state, and dollars contributed to each state PAC. So let's say Florida QPAC contributions to Florida QPAC stay in Florida. So that's something to be mindful of as well, and something we want to make sure everyone is aware of. Dollars contributed to the state stay within the state. The federal PAC or the Fed PAC is a little bit different in that those dollars go to federal candidates. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go, but that is one large bucket and not separate, four separate accounts. And then we also have the Advocacy Fund. And the Advocacy Fund is really fun in that it's very strategic and it's very nimble. It's not subject to campaign finance laws in the same ways that PAC accounts are. And so we have a little bit more ability to kind of utilize that in ways that we wouldn't be able to utilize PAC funds. We'll talk a little bit about some of those ways that we have used those, and we'll continue to use those funds as we go. But any questions so far? All right, hearing none, we'll keep going and kind of dive into each of these accounts and what they do. So the Advocacy Fund, as I mentioned, it's a little bit different in that it's not a true PAC account. It is something that the league has and gathers funds into. It's its own account. We keep everything separate, but it is utilized to develop and deploy targeted media and PR campaigns. So think, about the Don't Tax My Credit Union campaign. So we partnered with America's Credit Unions through that process, probably as early as November, December of last year, through even to current time and present time. We're continuing to work with them and deploy those funds to make sure that we're reiterating the value of credit unions and so many reasons why you wouldn't want to loop those in as a pay for budget legislation. So we do that for, broad PR campaigns. Some of those PR campaigns are just our footprint, so just our 4 states, and some of them are at the national level, like the Don't Tax My Credit Union campaign. We also have some issue-specific advocacy that happens. So, for example, Florida was able to pass QPD legislation just last year. And we utilize the Advocacy Fund to really put the pressure on and to really target some advocacy work that was done in the state of Florida. So that looked like hiring on a couple more contract lobbyists that had really deep and important relationships with key lawmakers that we really needed votes from. And then it took a couple other forms, kind of more of that PR type advocacy in the state of Florida in order to get QPDs passed. And that was vital to that effort. And then we also do some credit union educational content. So sometimes that takes the form of partnering to do advancing communities work and really improving those sites, improving that data and sharing those stories just to proactively share the importance of credit unions and what they're doing, what you all are doing in your communities every day. So that's kind of what the Advocacy Fund is used for. We also want to kind of share who can give, what that looks like. And so the league accepts corporate dollars from federal chartered credit unions. And there's a reason for that we'll get into. But corporate dollars are not, from federally chartered credit unions, are not able to be accepted into state QPACs because of campaign finance law. So in order to be able to accept contributions from federally chartered credit unions, being corporate dollars, the league got creative and said, hey, we want to be able to accept corporate contributions and have federally chartered credit unions at the corporate and take part in advocacy. And if they would like to generously contribute, we want to be able to utilize those dollars. So that's kind of where the Advocacy Fund came in. And that's how we continue to use it. So federally chartered credit unions at the beginning of the affiliation cycle. So you usually see dues and the affiliation packages go out in November of each year for the following year. And you'll see those goals. If you're a federally chartered credit union, you'll see the advocacy fund moving forward. And then your goal for the following year. So in 25, this November, you'll see a 2026 advocacy fund goal if you're a federally chartered credit union on that affiliation dues package. And of course, those are completely optional, is absolutely voluntary, and we appreciate any amount, you know, either up to or at the goal amount, or even beyond it. We'll never turn down dollars. So that is the advocacy fund. Does anyone have any questions about either how we use those funds or how to contribute and who contributes? All right, hearing none, I'll move on. If anything comes up, please stop me. All right, and then we'll talk now about the two true PAC buckets. So league PACs, just as any PAC, they aggregate funds, raise funds for the purpose of spending dollars and supporting candidates who are supportive of their particular industry. So that's no different from Bankers Association or the construction industry or retailers or you name the industry. And we're no different. So we're raising and aggregating funds to then go support candidates, during the election cycles and that part of the political process, who are more than likely going to be supportive of credit unions or already have been. So incumbents, who are running again will often look at, okay, have they been supportive? Were they supportive on the tax issue? Were they supportive on QPDs in Florida, et cetera? And then we'll choose to donate based on some of those factors. So with that, we'll continue. And here's just kind of a quick, I won't read all of these, but there are a couple different ways that PACs really put some bite to advocacy. So proactively, you're saying, hey, we're going to start building that relationship. We're going to start working together. We want to support you, and we hope that you'll be supportive of the credit union industry and the credit union movement. On the other side, if there is an incumbent potentially who has not been supportive of the credit union industry, whether they've made statements, that were not that were contrary to some of the positions that we would have liked them to take or votes, we can use PAC funds and withhold those funds and say, hey, while we would have liked to contribute to you, we've seen that you haven't been supportive on several of our issues, and so we're not going to contribute at this time. And that'll grab attention just as much as proactively giving. So to give or to not give, both can be really impactful. And then, just want to reiterate for those of you who may not be as familiar with this, but our PACs, they give funds to candidates regardless of political affiliation. So we give to Democrats just as we give to Republicans and independents and whoever, based solely on whether or not they are supportive of the credit union industry. So we get those questions sometimes, hey, how do you make those decisions? What if they're a part of this party or a member of this party? And we always want to say and reiterate that is done in practice too. So, are they taking time to meet with you? Are they supportive of our issues? Those are the only factors that are taken into consideration. All right. So we're going to start with the state QPACs. And it's kind of a good lead in from the advocacy fund. So the advocacy fund, corporate dollars, federally chartered credit unions. State QPACs have our policy and our practice is to raise those funds and to raise corporate funds from state chartered credit unions. So where federally chartered credit unions give to the advocacy fund, we have state charter credit unions and invite those state charter credit unions in each state to give to their respective state QPAC. Um, And we can accept personal contributions upon request. So we'll get into that, the reasoning behind that in a little bit. But we'll have some credit union members and staff who say, I really feel more comfortable if my personal contributions stay in the state of Virginia or stay in the state of Georgia. And that's okay. We need to know that, and we need, either written or verbal, notification, hey, our credit union as a whole has decided we want our personal contributions to stay within state. And we make note of that, and we change that process and make exceptions for that. So that is just a little bit about who can give. Those goals, similar to the advocacy fund, during the affiliation cycle, the beginning of that affiliation cycle in November when packages get sent out, those goals get sent with the affiliation package. So if you're a state charter credit union, instead of saying the advocacy fund on your affiliation package, you'll see your state QPAC. So let's say you're a state charter credit union in Alabama, you're going to see, your league dues and, national, all of that kind of stuff. And then in the voluntary kind of section, you'll see your Alabama state QPAC goal for the year. Again, you don't have anything leading up to meeting or even beyond. We so appreciate. And those are corporate dollars that we can accept and that we'll generally receive during that time. And then I also want to make note the state QPACs. I know we've talked about those dollars staying in state. And really, who those dollars go to are state level candidates for office. So that's your state Senate, your state House. And those dollars stay in state to support those candidates who are either pro credit union and have established that over time, having been in office, so they're incumbents, or they're new candidates who have never been in office who are really showing initiative to meet with us and to have an interview and a sit down and to meet with some credit unions and really show that they want to be supportive of the credit union industry. So any questions about state QPACs? Okay, hearing none. Y'all are quiet. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna make sure we're not missing anybody. Okay. So the last kind of bucket that we have is the League Fed PAC. And the League Fed PAC raises funds. You think Fed PAC here, federal. So federal level candidates for public office, we do not engage in presidential elections. So if you get any questions about that, or if you have any questions about that, it's just the Senate and the House that we engage in. And so, well, similar to state QPACs, we raise those funds, aggregate those funds, and then during kind of that part of the political process where elections are coming up, we are really looking at candidates, whether they're incumbents or new candidates, and thinking through again, regardless of political affiliation, are they going to be supportive or have they been supportive of credit union issues? So a little bit about who can give to the state, to the League Fed PAC. It's one bucket. Again, we don't have state by state little buckets. They all come to one account. Those are personal contributions. So that's when you say, hey, I'm going to raise my hand. I want to personally give X amount of dollars to support credit union advocacy. So whether you're staff, board, or you have members who would like to give, and some we'll get into a little bit of how members might be able to participate. We can absolutely accept those dollars, and unless otherwise stated, they'll go to the Fed PAC. If you again would like them to stay in state, we can send them to the state QPAC. We just need notification of that. And the cycle for receiving Fed PAC goals is slightly different. So Whereas the corporate goal, so advocacy fund if you're a federal charter or state QPAC if you're a state charter, get sent out kind of in that November affiliation period with affiliation packets. You won't see your FedPAC goals until the close of the affiliation process. So usually that's March, April, kind of when that starts to taper off and close and officially close. We'll send out those FedPAC goals at that time. And you'll see, you know, sometimes you'll see like a big a letter style where, and I can show examples, but we'll have a FedPAC template and you'll just see either your progress to goal. So if you've already started giving or you're on payroll deductions and that program, which we'll talk a little bit more about, you may see, you're 50% to your goal already, and that's wonderful. Or if you haven't given yet during that year, you'll see your goal. So that is the League FedPAC. Do we have any questions about the FedPAC yet? Okay. I'm going to continue and we're going to spend some time talking about the FedPAC and how to fundraise for the FedPAC because we found that it's actually probably the most the PAC fund that's a little bit more cloudy for everyone, and you have to kind of really brainstorm how to fundraise those dollars. So just a review, we get questions about this quite a bit. These are kind of who can contribute to each bucket. So again, advocacy fund, corporate dollars, federally chartered credit unions, state QPACs are corporate dollars, but we can receive those personal dollars upon request. Personal dollars, we can receive to the state QPAC regardless of whether you're a federally chartered credit union or a state chartered credit union. So that is one thing to keep in mind. If you as a federally chartered credit union want to be able to contribute to the state somehow, and you can't legally because of, the campaign finance law as a federally chartered credit union at a corporate level, you can get your employees to contribute, and you can send those personal dollars to the state QPAC. So that's a little bit of a nuance there. And then, of course, you've got the FedPAC. So FedPAC taking personal contributions, cannot take any corporate contributions whatsoever. And again, it does not matter charter type for the FedPAC. All right, we're going to keep moving. Okay, so the FedPAC, because there are personal contributions involved, is a little bit more complex. So we're going to spend some time talking about that. And the first element that is really important to note with the FedPAC is that permission agreements are required in order for your credit union to take part. On a, you could theoretically, you could proactively reach out to us and we could provide information. But in order for us to really spend time with your staff talking or training them on kind of what the FedPAC is, what advocacy what the FedPAC looks like, it's really important for us to have a permission agreement signed. So sometimes that's either the CEO or the board will get involved with the CEO and there will be a board signature. We can accept either signature on the permission agreement. And this really just allows us to talk a little bit more about what it is, what we can do, using those funds, how it gets supported, that sort of thing. But also, if you've got staff who are coming to the advocacy luncheon at Engage, or we had karaoke this year, we've had the quail hunt in the past, those sorts of fundraising events that benefit the FedPAC, we would have to have a permission agreement signed in order to participate. So there are kind of some true benefits to being on our kind of list of signed permission agreements and getting that signed with us. So if you don't know if your credit union has a signed permission agreement, please reach out to me. We keep records and we'll be able to tell you, hey, you've got one signed through this year, or no, we've never had one. Let's have that conversation and get it set up. Just a note on the permission agreements, your CEO can sign for 1 year up to 5 years. So they could say, hey, we're going to blanket do a blanket signature for, 2025 through 2030. And that will cover your credit union and allow participation and communication about the Fed Pack from the league um, for that next 5 years. And we do not at any point reach out to staff or members without leadership say so. So we would never proactively, say, hey, we're going to start sending messages to your members or to your staff without the CEO and the board approval. Any questions about permission agreements? Okay, we're going to keep going. Okay, so a little bit more about how to give. I mentioned this earlier, but the league hosts fundraisers. And fundraisers are really fun ways, really great ways to get a lot of that dollar aggregation done at the same time or at one time. So we host again karaoke at Engage this year is a hit. If you didn't come or you didn't come to Engage, by all means, please come next year. We had a blast. We also have the Advocacy Luncheon, which has been an annual staple. It's been a hit and continues to grow. We'll continue to bring in really insightful political experts, we had a pollster this year. Sometimes we'll have commentators who have talk shows or any number of people. So that's always fun. We had Relax and Reload this year as well, which is a new event. And we'll continue to bring new fundraisers to everyone that, they may be CEO level only fundraisers, or they may be open to all, and there will be a variety as we continue. And then we also have credit union hosted fundraisers. So that's where I think Victoria is on. Victoria, are you on still, baby?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I just can't work a computer, apparently.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
no, you're fine. You're fine. I want to shout out Victoria. Care came to us and said, hey, we really want to get our team and our members involved in a credit union hosted fundraiser. We want to kind of run this idea. What do you think? And so they were so proactive, and I'm so excited to see how their fundraiser goes. And Victoria, feel free to share if you want to share a little bit about kind of what your idea was and how that's come about.
Sure. So we have actually, so we've just finished putting in our order. We're finalizing things on our side as far as what this is going to look like for our staff and our members. But what's going to happen is I don't know how many of you guys own Jeeps, but down here in Florida, it's like every other person and then their mother. And they all participate in the what's called ducking. Essentially, it's a way for people to share their happiness and share, just share good things. And basically, what happens is these little 2-inch ducks get put on somewhere on a Jeep, and it gives those people a reason to smile. And then I don't know if you've ever seen it, but at the front of the Jeep, there's just like this entire coverage of little 2-inch ducks. So we've decided we're going to go ahead and get some of our medical themed ducks, put our logo on them, and sell them for $1. And then those proceeds that we receive as a result of selling to our members, those will be given to the Fed Pack.
Thank you for sharing. It was so
Sure.
exciting to hear y'all were just jumping in and starting this little Ducks for Bucks fundraiser. Again, like there's no pressure to do credit union hosted fundraisers, but if you're interested, please reach out. Our team is always really excited to hear that, and we really enjoy getting to brainstorm and help you through the process. So um, reach out if you're interested, and we'll get something put together. All right. The other primary way to give to the Fed Pack is through payroll deductions. So this is a program that is really you set it up once, you get it all taken care of, and then you forget it and it just runs. So I'm sure a lot of you have credit unions who are involved in other altruistic endeavors and will give to different charities and different things like that through payroll deductions, this is very similar. So we can work with your payroll department and your leadership to go through everything, work through, if you don't have a permission agreement, getting that set up, doing a little bit of training so that your staff knows, hey, this is an opportunity to give, this supports the credit union movement and your credit union itself. And then we can kind of invite them to participate, walk them through what that looks like. But this is, if you have a biweekly payroll or a monthly or however you do it, what it would look like for the employee is that they would sign up. You can have different tiers. The way that we do it at the league is you have a couple different options, and you have a, fill in the blank. You can give whatever dollar amount that would be recurring every payroll period, and you opt into that and it just runs. So every payroll period, if it's as few as $1 or $2 per payroll period, or whether it's you've got leadership who wants to do, 50, 75, $100 per payroll period. It's really catered to everyone so that everyone can participate. And we always share during our staff trainings that we'll do, if your credit union is interested and wants to get involved, that every dollar counts. The huge benefit of this is that, with our packs, we're aggregating all of those dollars. So every dollar counts, whether that's, a couple dollars a payroll period that adds up, or whether that's, a larger sum. When it's all aggregated together, we really notice that the more individuals that you have that are participating and getting involved can make even more of a difference than, say, a few leaders who are giving larger sums. So we do have that option. It's a great option. And some of our most successful FedPAC fundraising credit unions do a lot of their fundraising through payroll deductions. And I think I saw, was Ed on here? Nope, he's not on here anymore. I'll give Peach State a shout out. They do an incredible job of this. So if you want to connect with Peach State or want to have a conversation just about how all of that works, they are truly leaders in FedPAC payroll deduction fundraising. So just want to shout them out, and let's go on with FedPAC payroll deductions, really in any FedPAC contribution. If you would do your own credit union hosted fundraiser, you would need a backup document. The League for league hosted fundraisers takes care of all of this. But if there are payroll deductions involved, or if there is like a credit union, if you're hosting your own fundraiser, we would need this documentation. And what it is, there is a $200 federally required reportable threshold for individuals. So if you reach that $200 reportable threshold, then this information gets shared and reported on some FEC filing reports. It's really no big deal. But we do collect that documentation ahead of time just so we're staying compliant and we're keeping the FEC happy. We would never want to have our PACs out of compliance. So we do ask that, if you're doing a biweekly payroll deduction program, we'll see that either ACH or if you send a check, or if you're doing that a couple of different ways, we're happy to and so grateful to accept those funds. But you may, if you don't send that documentation automatically, you may hear from either myself or a couple of our teammates just saying, hey, we're going to need some backup documentation if you have it for this check or this ACH dollar amount. And what it looks like is, you can see off to the side, off to this right, it's as simple as first name, last name of the individual contributor, their position with the credit union, and then the dollar amount that they're giving at that time. So if it's a fundraiser, it'll just be what they did at that fundraiser. And then if it's a payroll deduction, it'll be just that payroll period, what they're giving. And you'll do that for every individual contributor and total that up at the bottom. And that is all that we need from you to stay compliant. One note with the Fed Pack and contributions would be, you probably all have seen these recently with the close of affiliation and when we sent all of these templates out. But we have started a like really unique identifying number tied to each Fed Pack goal. So if you have that, please use that Fed Pack reference number when you submit Fed Pack contributions, and we'll know automatically, okay, this is exactly where it's going. There won't be any questions. And if there are, if there is any backup documentation that we do need in addition, just because we haven't received that yet, we'll reach out. But that's probably all that you'll hear from us aside from a huge thank you. Are there any questions about backup documents or those Fed Pack reference numbers?
Hey, Josie, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So can you do payroll deductions for the Fed Pack or for the state Q Pack?
Yes. So, Trevor, this is kind of where we get into that exception. The league's kind of process and policy is all individual dollars that get aggregated. We receive in, and our automatic process is we see a backup document, we see individual contributions that may have been aggregated and sent together. We'll put that in the Fed Pack unless we hear from the credit union, hey, we want all of these individual contributions to go to the state Q Pack. So, Trevor, if you and your team wanted to do that and wanted to raise personal dollars for the state Q Pack and wanted those dollars to stay in the state, we would just need, you might email me, Trevor, and say, hey, we're going to be starting to fundraise some personal dollars. We want all dollars moving forward unless specifically noted, unless we specifically say to go to the state QPAC. And we will note that and make sure that all the dollars coming from your credit union, that are personal dollars, would go to the state QPAC. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? All right, we're going to keep going. We're almost to the end, and then, oh, we are. So Q&A, anything that you guys have questions about? One thing that I failed to mention was that there are a couple different avenues to send those contributions. So again, you guys hear us talk about check and ACH. On the Fed Pack goal templates, you'll see all of the ACH information included, as well as mailing address. So if you do want to mail a physical check, we can accept that. Those are on those goal templates that have been provided. And then that'll be the same for anything. So advocacy fund or state Q packs, if you want to send corporate dollars, it can go to that same address and same attention line. And then for Fed Pack, you've got just that FP number that you would add. Then, in addition to that, there are also some online donation platforms, and you can access those all through the league website. So if you go to just the league homepage and you go down to the advocacy kind of ribbon, you'll see political action committees. And then on that web page, you'll see for each state, there's a QPAC, there's the advocacy fund, as well as the Fed Pack. So there are online ways to enter, it'll take card information, it'll process and send you a receipt as well. And we do have a handful of contributions that come in that way. And if you personally, perhaps your credit union doesn't feel comfortable launching payroll deductions or something like that, but if you and a handful of others want to set up recurring payments that would kind of function somewhat like payroll deductions, our online platform can take credit card information. You can set the contribution as recurring, and I think that there's like a biweekly, a monthly, and a quarterly option, or it can just be a one-time payment. And so it'll automatically set that for you as well if your credit union isn't ready to start a payroll deduction program, but you want to give recurring payments or contributions. But yeah, so check ACH and then online donation platforms. And if you see any of our team at different events and you or your team wants to give, we also have these really awesome. They're called Zettles, and they're just in-person payment systems. They look kind of like a phone, but we can take Apple Pay, Google Pay, any credit card, that sort of thing as well if we're in person together. All right, with that, I'll open it up to questions. Oh, I'm seeing some chat.
This is a very
Jesus,
specific, oh, sorry,
yeah,
question
no,
to
go
for
ahead.
us. We have a signed permission agreement through the Michigan Credit Union League. Do you
Okay.
think, do you know if we need one with you guys as well through ACU?
I can double check on that. I know, Trevor, that if you sign one with ACU, then that covers the league and vice versa. So if you would sign one with the League of Credit Unions, it would cover America's credit unions as well. If you've signed it directly with the Michigan League, I'm not sure if that, I know it would encompass and include America's credit unions, but it may not cover the league since there's 2 degrees of separation there.
Yeah, if you
So
could check on that, that'd be awesome. And then we can get that squared away if we need to.
that sounds great. I will absolutely check that. And Trevor, I have your email, so I'll shoot all of that information over to you via email.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Jesus, I see this chat. That is awesome. Yes, we would love EPNs to get involved. We're continuing to kind of brainstorm how to do that. If you also have either an EPN night or an event or even a chapter event and you want to get folks involved, please reach out. We'll have to do a little bit of checking as far as who has a signed permission agreement and what we can and can't talk about, kind of based on the audience. But if we can get those folks involved, we will be super excited about that. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I will let us all go and have it conclude just 15 minutes early. All right. Well, thank you so much for all joining. This was so fun to get to share a little bit about advocacy and the importance of PACs to the broader advocacy effort and really supporting credit unions. So thank you. If you have any questions as you go or you think of something later, please let me know. I'm going to drop my email in the chat now, and we'll look forward to hearing from you guys. All right. Well, thank you all. You guys have a good rest of your week.
Have a great week, Josie. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Ashley.
Thank
Bye.